Now, mixing and mastering is one of those processes that always confuses the hell out of people, right? Well, thankfully, with the right approach and with some tools that are available to us, we can actually streamline that process. So today, I'm going to show you my exact process that I follow to mix and master my music in 2024. What I want to talk about is something really, really important: production. That is making sure that your production is as close as you want it to sound before you hit the mixing. The reason you want to do this is because you want 90% of your work done before you even touch mixing. You don't want to have the mindset of maybe it can be saved later or maybe it'll sound good later. You want it to sound good now. What that really boils down to is your sound selection. When you do your sound selection, you want, say for example, the drums. If you're picking a kick, a snare and a hat, you want each of those to sit in the frequency regions that you're basically wanting them to on the EQ before you try and sort of mess around with it. So choosing the right sounds are key to sort of setting up a good foundation in a mix. Now, if you get that step right, then now we're ready to start mixing. So the first step that I always do to focus on getting a good initial mix is to focus on the levels. Now you might go, hold on Aaron, all your faders are at 0. But the reason for that is because in Studio One, if you come up here, you can actually see a option that says input controls. Now what I tend to do, I don't know if this is just a habit that I've created or something like that, but I tend to sort of get a rough level for the instrument with the input control and try to keep my faders as close to 0 as possible. That's just a personal preference thing. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what I tend to do. So a good way to actually determine the right levels of what you actually want is to actually use reference tracks. It's very important that when you do use reference tracks though, that you use one that is relevant to the track that you've got. So it's got similar elements in there, it's got a similar tone to what you're after. It's very important to actually choose a track like that. Now once you've got that reference track, the questions you want to be asking yourself is kind of like, how loud is their kick in the mix, you know, as opposed to the other instruments? Where are their guitars sitting? What levels are they at? So my approach to levels is usually to actually do it as I go. So when I'm working on the production, I'll occasionally flip between the reference track and my track and just set the levels accordingly. And so once you've set your levels, you are ready to start putting it through a signal chain for mixing and mastering. Now what I tend to do is I'll focus on 3 main sections, which is going to be EQ and color. That's the first section. And then we'll be focusing on compression, and then we'll be focusing on the level itself. So my EQ section on my master bus usually looks like this. So I'm going to run it through the Brainworks AMEC 9099 console. When you load this up, everything's going to be on. So what I've done is I've turned off the gate, I've turned off the compressor, I've turned off the limiter, and I've just kept the high pass and low pass filters on, and I'm just filtering off some of the low end there. And then I've actually got a EQ strip on as well. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reset that back to 0. And again, what you want to do with this, and the reason why I like EQs like this in sort of the mastering stage is because you focus on using your ears alone rather than sort of meters and stuff like that. So let's have a listen. Okay, that's sounding good to me. And one tip I'll give is when you are using EQs on your sort of master bus, only do gradual amounts. Don't do crazy sweeps of EQ. You can see with each thing there, I've only took away or boosted 1 or 2 dB maximum. You know, usually those little adjustments and adding up those little adjustments over time are a lot better to do. Okay, the next thing I run the track through is Goldfoss Master. Now, to be honest, a lot of people, when they sort of use Gullfoss, they kind of say, I don't really know what it does. It's sort of basically a automatic EQ that I think adjusts your track close to the pink noise curve. I think that's what it does. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. And all I do, again, keeping it subtle, I only put on about 10% on the recover and 10% on the tame. And again, it's such a slight adjustment and you might need headphones to hear that, but it's just a way of opening the track a bit and bringing out some of the highs. The next thing I run it through is going to be going into the compression section, and that is the Brainworks glue processor. Now, all I'm doing with this is I'm aiming to get 1 to 2 dBs reduction just to glue the track a bit. And that's it. We want to keep the attack as a long attack because we don't want to ruin our transients. The next plugin I'm actually running the track through is called Shadow Hill's Mastering Compressor. Now, this compressor is so subtle and really good for quiet music in particular. I really like what it does. So let's just try and get, again, just 1 to 2 dBs of reduction on there. So I've got about 1 to 2 dBs of reduction going on now, and I've set it to the nickel transformer as I felt it was the most subtle for the song. Now, the last plugin that I actually run the track through is going to be this one. It's called Brainworks Master Desk Pro. Now, this one is going to be how I get the levels up to Spotify level and a comparative level, and focus on the mastering side of things in particular. So we focused on tone, a bit of glue, and now we're just going to put the final touches on. And there we have it. That's sounding great to me. And that's how I get my beats ready for Spotify. Now, as you can see, I really didn't do too much. I focused on 3 main sections, which was the EQ and color, the compression and glue, bringing the levels up and making sure it's ready for Spotify. And this is why I can't emphasize enough the importance of making sure you do good sound selection in the beginning and make sure your production is as close to the sound that you want in the final result. But yeah, if this video helped you in any way, then please do hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.